Hi, I'm Michelle Rodriguez. I'd like to thank Movieset.com, Mariello, of course, and Lay for facilitating the opportunity to do this live. And we tried to get to all your questions, but there were a lot of them. I thank you for submitting them in the forum. And nothing. Let's get this started.
All right, our first question comes from Tiger Lily. Her question is, which scene in the movie did you find the most challenging, and what was your favorite scene to do?
Huh. I would say my favorite scene to do in the movie had something to do with a crane because I love action. My dogs, yeah, yeah.
Poor guy.
Baby, you okay? It seems my dog's about to cough up his stomach. Let me. Hold on.
1 second.
You okay? You okay? Yeah, yeah. Belly acids.
Aw, poor guy.
Sorry
Okay,
about that.
so favorite
So
scene.
Tiger Lily, yeah. My favorite scene in the movie to shoot, just because I love action, would have something to do with the crane. I don't want to give too much away. Um, but I'd also have to say, being a protester and sitting down with actual protesters who were there at the WTO events, that was amazing. And I'd have to say that even though I didn't expect, getting sprayed and, you know, dragged away and handcuffed to be such a wonderful experience, it turned out to be a lot cooler than I had expected it to be. Yeah.
Our next question comes from Jen. She says, Michelle, how would you say you've changed over the past 7 years since you first entered the business?
What's really interesting is that I don't feel like I've even been born yet. Like I've only been in this business for 7 years, and I've learned a lot. I've grown a lot. I think the majority of the change that I've undergone has been mostly to do with maturity and just like, you're completely fearless when you're young, and it allows you to do and explore and get your nose into so many things, trouble included. And I guess now that I'm getting older, I'm just starting to realize like what I'm passionate about, what I care about, and what I want to put my energy into, and I think that, when I was younger, I always knew what I was in the world for, but I didn't know how to do it. And now as I'm getting older, I'm starting to realize how. And it's a beautiful thing. Growing up is amazing. Although I do kind of, sometimes I kind of wish that I had the balls I did when when I started. But now I'm a lot more calm and passive.
Our next question comes from Becky. Her question is, what do you think of Stuart Townsend's debut in the role of a director? Did he allow improvisation in your acting, or did you notice pressure? Because obviously it's his first movie as a director.
Stuart is one of the coolest guys ever. He's human. And I think the key to being an amazing director, is three things in my book. And I've only done like 8 movies, so it's just my perspective. You gotta know what you want. The vision's gotta be, structured. And you gotta know how to deal with people. And that's something that directors usually lack, I've noticed. And he's great on all three. So if you ask me, the guy's amazing. He knows what he's doing. Yeah.
Our next question comes from Damsco. He asks, why do you think many people, especially the younger generation, are so reluctant to stand up for what they believe in and speak out about issues they don't agree with?
Because today's society, I think, makes it easy for people to be lazy and not care. I could easily sit on my MySpace and spend all day on my computer, get up the next day, do my 9 to 5, after busting my ass all day. Do I really want to go out there and fight for human rights, risk going to jail, risk losing my job, have to worry about the rent, have to worry about... People are lazy. And it's part of Media has a lot to do with it, I think. Parents not making their kids, not influencing their kids to be active, sitting home staring at TVs all day. It makes us lazy, man. I've done it. I know. I've been there. I've sat home and played D&D and sat there in front of my Sony PlayStation all day and not wanted to go out for anything, other than to, make money so that I can keep playing my PlayStation and sit home and watch television. And, one day I just realized I walked outside and it was a beautiful day and I was just like, what the hell am I doing with my skin and my life and my body? I think it has a lot to today's, tech information age is so saturated with information. People don't know what to believe in either. I think it has a lot to do with it. We're just surrounded by so much. And people get lazy, So, hopefully, you start thinking about 20, 30 years from now. And that's the big thing. I think people forget that things change. And change is inevitable. And no matter what you do, you will always have to understand that that is a reality, a fact of life. We're just completely non-consistent beings. So once people realize that, then they'll start making moves. So if they have kids, they'll start worrying about what this kid's life is going to be like at 30 and whether or not he's going to be damning to all hell that he was ever born.
Wow, that's good. Do you think this film, this one's from Frizzy Fran, do you think this film will get the message across to youngsters what politics and war is like?
Wow. To youngsters. Here's the thing. It's like you have what I loved about Stewart's perspective of the WTO event is that he went around to the different personalities. He went to the woman who has nothing to do with the WTO and who works at a store. He went to the guy who's a cop, who's really enthusiastic about his job and, really wants to do a good job at what he does. He went to these protesters who are passionately, caring about what our society is going to be like in a couple of years and whether humans are going to have rights and it's going to be some Orwell 1984 all over again. He went and focused on all of these issues. Whether or not youngsters are going to be receptive to it, I'm not quite sure. I think that, the one thing that's universal about this movie is people caring and standing up for what they believe in. And that is such a powerful image to see people just standing there, old women, young kids, and passionate, Gen Yers, sitting there quietly expressing that they disagree with what our government is doing and what the corporate America is doing. And that alone is so powerful, watching how people can react to people who are just sitting down silently, hurting them, throwing things at them. It shows how stupid we are. Just as a mass, as a whole, like, oh, well, you can't sit there, I'm going to hit you. Because if you don't move, how am I going to make you move if you're just sitting there? And that's all people were doing, was just sitting down. Making a little noise every now and then. We don't believe in this. They were just sitting down. So I think that is a universal theme, and I think that youngsters will definitely understand that because they've been there, and that's that same thing, that same feeling that you get when you're a little kid and your parents telling you to sit in the corner, and your parent is so big. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to hit your dad, hit your mom? You got to do what they're telling you to. And the only way that you could ever fight back is by disagreeing and just showing how you feel through your face, facial expression, crying, or, sitting down and being silent. So it's hardcore. I think that it'll resonate in many different generations.
We got a question from Ross-a-Knight. He asks, Ross-a-Knight asks, hi, how do you think you would have reacted if you really had been there? The World Trade Organization.
That's a good question. One great thing about how I've grown in the past couple of years is that Jersey City ghetto mentality that I had a couple years ago, where if anybody messed with me, I would just hurt them, is gone. And, I have a more tamed Mandela type mentality, and I recognize the power of intelligence when placed in situations where ignorant people are using force against me. There are moments in time where somebody can flip a switch on me and I'll get ghetto. I'll go back to Jersey City really quickly. But I think it would have to involve somebody touching a family member or somebody who's not me, because I can handle ignorance now. And I've come to a place, I'm so proud of myself. I've come to a place where I can handle it, I think I would have reacted by taking it. I would have taken it, and I just would have expressed with my mouth while I'm being dragged away. I think I would have reacted pretty much close to the same way that my character reacted in the film.
Speaking of that, Julia Cupcake asks, "Hi, Michelle. I'm a really big fan, and I just want to say that you are awesome. I want to know if you connected to your character Lou in any way."
There are a lot of things about Lou that I connected to. I totally resonate with the level of anger and that feeling of just complete helplessness. When you're outnumbered and you know that you're righteous, and you know that you're fighting for a good cause. It's kind of like holding the light of God, love, and being shunned for it. And it's very Christ-like, the life of these protesters. But there's one element that's missing, and it is that humility that takes away the anger. And that's something that I didn't quite resonate with Lou, because she was so angry all the time. And that's what I realized about a lot of these protesters. You're so busy being angry and passionate about being angry and trying to find, methods to releasing and expressing this anger, that all this anti-stuff is taking away the focal point here, which is finding a solution. When you give energy to negativity, you're influencing the negativity. And that's something that I do not resonate with, because I'm grown up. So at the end of the day, my whole thing is ignore all the a-holes. Ignore all these people who are doing stupid things and be the solution. So that's one thing that I didn't agree with Lou so much about, was, sitting there and just being anti. It's really great for raising awareness, and there's a place in the world for everything, but it's just not where I would be. I'd be busy out there trying to create an ethical company.
Rain Ocampo 00302 asks, "How do you like working with Ray Liotta, since you have before?"
He's a cool guy, He's fun to work with. I barely saw him on this movie because we didn't get to work much with him, but he was a cool guy.
Vixen asks, "Hey Michelle, as cheesy of a question it is, I am curious, what made you want to do this movie? What caught your eye about the movie and the script the most?"
Revolution! Yeah, I read the script and I said to myself, and I said to my manager Sam, I was like, you know what? I don't care if I'm an extra in this movie. You got to get me in. Just because I like it when people have balls. What are you scared of? We come to this world and we die. Like, what are you scared of? Voicing out what you believe in. How do you think that corporations became so powerful? How do you think buildings are built and cities are built? Because people got together and believed in something. And that's what I don't understand in the mentality of people who are scared. It's like, oh, well, if I go out there, I'll get arrested. Big deal. You know what I mean? Stand up for what you believe in. There has to be at least some level of chaos in your world, or you're just going to live a flat line for the rest of your life. And I thought that script resonated that. It resonated that passion for life. That was so cool. Just going to flat line for the rest of your life. And I thought that that script resonated that. It resonated that.
Do you think
that passion
this film, this
for life, you know? That was so cool. That's just going to live a flat line for the rest of your life. And I thought that that script resonated that. It resonated that.
do you think
that passion
this film, this
for life, you know? That was so cool. That's just going to live a flat line for the rest of your life. And I thought that that script resonated that. It resonated that.
do you think
that passion
this film, this
for life, you know? That was so cool. That's just going to live a flat line for the rest of your life. And I thought that that script resonated that. It resonated that.
do you think
that passion
this film, this
for life, you know? That was so cool. That's just going to live a flat line for the rest of your life. And I thought that that script resonated that. It resonated that.
do you think
that passion
this film, this
for life, you know? That was so cool. That's just going to live a flat line for the rest of your life. And I thought that that script resonated that. It resonated that.
do you think
that passion
this film, this
for life, you know? That was so cool. That's just going to live a flat line for the rest of your life. And I thought that that script resonated that. It resonated that.
do you think
that passion
this film, this
for life, you know? That was so cool. That's just going to live a flat line for the rest of your life. And I thought that that script resonated that. It resonated that.
do you think
that passion
this film, this
for life, you know? That was so cool. That's just going to live a flat line for the rest of your life. And I thought that that script resonated that. It resonated that.
do you think
that passion
this film, this
for life, you know? That was so cool. That's just going to live a flat line for the rest of your life. And I thought that that script resonated that. It resonated that.
do you think
that passion
this film, this
for life, you know? That was so cool. That's just going to live a flat line for the rest of your life. And I thought that that script resonated that. It resonated that.
do you think
that passion
this film, this
for life, you know? That was so cool. That's just going to live a flat flat line for the rest of your life. And I thought that that script resonated that. It resonated that.
Do you think that
passion
this film, this
for life, you know? That was so cool. That's just going to live a flat line for the rest of your life. And I thought that that script resonated that. It resonated that.
do you think that
passion
this film, this
for life, you know? That was so cool. Just going to live a flat line for the rest of your life. And I thought that that script resonated that. It resonated that.
do you think that
passion
this film, this
for life, you know? That was so cool. Just going to live a flat line for the rest of your life. And I thought that that script resonated that. It resonated that.
do you think that
passion
this film, this
for life, you know? That was so cool.